Hi, you're listening to What's New Today. This is a kids and family podcast about current events shaping our world. This is your host Sangeeta, and I'm from India. And in every episode, I'm joined by one young and curious mind to discuss one new story. In this episode, I'm joined by.
Hello, my name is Smyan Shetty. I am in fifth grade. I am currently living in California, Santa Clara. I am 10 years old. I love reading and singing.
Welcome back, Smyan. It's always a pleasure to have you. I know it's late evening for you, end of a school day. It's early morning for me in India. And we have a rather interesting news topic to talk about. Now, for our listeners, Smyan has no idea what we're going to be talking about. I will read aloud the first couple of sentences of the news story, and thereafter, he's got to guess what the rest of the news story is. Shall we get started, Smyan?
Yeah.
Okay. Last year in South Korea, lots and lots of people bought strollers. Strollers are the ones that they put
Yeah,
little babies
they
in.
carry the babies in that.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. So last year, lots and lots of people bought strollers, but less than half of them bought them for babies. What did the rest of them buy strollers for?
This can be a crazy idea, but probably small pets or something. If it isn't for a baby, it's probably for a small dog or a cat.
But bingo, you hit the nail on the head on your very first guess. The strollers were indeed for pets, and most of them are, in this case, dogs. I think it wasn't very uncommon on South Korea's roads for people to take their dogs or cats or whichever other pet that they had on a stroller, but it was still not as common as taking a baby. Which brings us to the second part of this news story. The government of South Korea is alarmed by this change. Why do you think the government is worried?
Probably because they're giving more importance to pets rather than human babies.
You mean to say they won't feed their children as well? They won't get them as many interesting books to read or take them on nice
No,
holidays,
I
and they'll
mean
do
not
all that for their
that
dogs?
way. Not in that kind of a way.
Mm-hmm.
Pro, I don't really know. Maybe let's. Should I try taking a second guess?
Why not?
Since people are buying a lot more strollers, it's probably leading to a decline in the resources needed to make a stroller.
You mean to say when someone really needs a stroller for their baby, they may not be able to buy one because whatever goes into making a stroller has already been used up for the stroller for the pets?
Yeah.
It's a very interesting idea, but I have a feeling the government of South Korea is thinking about something else.
This may be a bit crazy, but is it probably people are continuously using the strollers and they're using up the road space?
Ah! So you're worried that there are not only more strollers for pets, but on the whole, there are far more strollers on the roads. So people don't have
Yeah.
space to drive their cars.
Yeah.
Very interesting perspective. I think South Korea still has a lot more road space. They can afford for many more strollers to occupy their road space before they run out of space for their cars. Any more ideas?
Hmm. I don't know.
Nope. All right. The answer is a little bit more mundane. The South Korean government is very worried uh, that people in their country are not having enough babies.
Oh.
So more people are going ahead adopting pets. They just probably don't find the need to raise babies, or in some cases they may actually find it a little burdensome. Why do you think that might be the case?
Compared to raising a child can be harder because you don't have to teach things to a dog, but you have to teach things to a human.
Mm.
You don't have to pay for a dog's education because a dog doesn't need education, but you have to pay for like a human baby's education. So that's probably the reasons that the South Koreans don't want babies.
It's really interesting that some of the reasons that come to your head are related to the financial aspect of raising a child, which means, you've got to pay for their education and schooling and college fees can be quite high, which is definitely part of the reason because education has become quite expensive in many parts of the world when not many parents are able to afford it. Which brings us to the last part of today's news story. So it's fair for us now to say that over a long period of time, if fewer and fewer South Korean parents have children, the overall population of South Korea will come down. What do you think will happen to that country in the long term?
Well, there, like as you said, there's a negative thing that there's a decline in the number of that there will be a decline in the number of people in the country. But like there could possibly also be like positive thing like natural resources. Humans need a lot of natural resources to survive compared to pets. And so like humans need a lot of food. If there are less people, then that could increase the natural resources available for human survival.
Which is a good thing. So the South Koreans should be very happy that bingo, we're going to have more resources because there are going to be fewer people asking to be fed, asking to be clothed, asking to get fantastic smartphones and fancy electronic devices.
Kind of, but like the like less and less people in the country is probably like gonna make the country lonely and probably less taken care of. And that
Now,
really and that could also like lead to a decline in taxes.
you mean there'll be lesser tax collections?
Yeah. Or probably the people that are living in the country, they'll have to pay higher taxes.
Oh, yes. Now, you made two very, very interesting points. One, if there are fewer people, they may feel more lonely because you're going to have fewer people living around you and fewer people for you to meet and greet and talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's certainly not very pleasant, right?
Yeah.
And the other important point that you said was, oh, that because there'll be fewer people earning, the country will have lesser income. If you were the South Korean government's leader, how would you feel?
Sad. Like the population is decreasing.
So the country might actually stop being as rich as it is now. It might get a little poorer over the long term.
Yeah. And it
That's
even might yeah, and it even might stop being a country.
oh wow, that is deadly. How could that come about?
Because like lower population and the population could if there are no people except for the government, the population could go down by a lot, but probably by zero. And then since there's no one in the country, it'll probably join another country or it'll just be a piece of barren land.
Or maybe another country nearby might just send its army, invade, attack, and take over that country. Anyway, there are very few people left there to fight for their rights and defend themselves, right? That too can happen.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's a scary proposition yes, you just made. Yeah, I don't know if that'll happen yet, but yes, it certainly can happen in the really, really long term. Yeah. So the South Korean government is seriously wondering, what to do about the situation. So, Smyan, if you were the leader of South Korea, what would you do?
So like people are probably more worried about the finance. That's why they don't want to have babies. So like maybe I'll decrease the school, how much they need to pay for the school, how much they need to pay for college, how much additional they need to pay for the baby's clothes, the baby's food. and also like child insurance. So like if the baby gets hurt or the baby has a disease, the if they have an insurance, the parents or the guardians will have to pay less than the people who don't have insurance.
So, protecting healthcare expenses that the parents
Yeah.
might have to incur. So, you're trying to ensure that that is not too much. I'm saying so many interesting ideas you have on reducing the financial burden of the parents. And shall we go on to our quiz time?
Yeah.
All right, three questions based on what we've just spoken. It's not really a quiz for Smyan and I, it's more for our listeners to see if you've been paying careful attention to what the two of us have been speaking. Question one. Apart from human babies, what else do South Koreans put in their strollers and take them and walk them around on their roads?
South Koreans usually put pets, mostly dogs, in their small dogs in their strollers.
Question two. Can you think of one good outcome of population of any country reducing?
Less natural resources being used, and so that means for like one person there's more food and water.
The last and the final question. One idea that Smyan has for the South Korean government to ensure that people continue to have babies.
That the South Korean government should probably like decrease the costs for a baby, like for his food, clothing, insurance.
Wonderful. Smyan, I know you've been listening to episodes on What's New Today. Is there any one that really caught your fancy that you'd like to recommend to other children?
Can it be an article that I've read?
Yeah, why not? One of the newsletters that we write for children on the lighter side. That's what you're talking about?
Yeah. So like you had sent one a newsletter regarding Italy and its history.
Oh, Italy and its history. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I was surprised to know that it is also called Idrika and Kelly, and that it was made in Indonesia. I thought it was made like in South India, like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka.
You thought the origin of idli was from South India, and you were shocked to know
Yeah,
that idli perhaps did not originate in India, but it had its origin in some part of Southeast Asia, like
yeah.
Indonesia. Oh, wonderful. Oh, how interesting. I'm glad you had that as a recommendation. I shall leave a link to this story on the origins of idli in the show notes below. So, for those of our listeners who may not be aware, I write one newsletter once a week about interesting events that catch my fancy. If you'd like to subscribe to it, it's free. You can find a link to it in the show notes below. And if you're someone that likes to read about interesting news stories in a book, flipping through those pages in your hands, I've got a very interesting update for you. The Lighter Side magazine is about to come out. It covers all the important news stories of 2024. I write each one of them like a story, not just a boring news story. Thank you, Smyan, for joining me in discussing today's news story. I had a lot of fun chatting about so many interesting ideas. Keep reading, keep listening. I'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.